When it comes to Capcom's iconic Blue Bomber, I was always more of a fan of the X series. The faster pace, the more serious aesthetic, and the badass characters really stuck with me growing up. And unfortunately, this kind of caused me to overlook the classic Mega Man series. I always sort of saw classic Mega Man as just an inferior version of Mega Man X. I mean, I liked the games, and in fact, Mega Man 5 was my first ever Mega Man game, so it's not like I completely shied away from the series. I just never got into it like I did with the X series. But recently, I had some free time on my hands, and so I played through every single classic Mega Man game from 1 to 11, and I gotta say, these games are absolutely incredible. The level design, the weapons, the movement, it's also tightly designed and addictive. In this video, I just kinda wanna talk about what makes this series so damn good. The level designers behind classic Mega Man were masters of their craft. Each stage is usually built around one or two simple mechanics that gradually evolve in complexity as you progress, right? What's impressive is how organically it's presented to the player. Most don't even realize they're being taught, but with every screen, they're learning how the level works. For example, let's take Heatman stage from Mega Man 2. It features the infamous disappearing blocks. This mechanic is introduced in a relatively safe area where the only threat is a lone enemy at the bottom of the screen. This lets you learn the timing and navigation without too much pressure, and then later, the challenge ramps up with lava pits underneath, forcing more precise execution. And finally, the stage culminates in a very long stretch of disappearing blocks suspended over a bottomless pit. The ultimate test of everything you've learned in the level so far. It's a perfect example of how Mega Man builds difficulty through design and wordless tutorials. Of course, this isn't the only example, but it's definitely one of the more obvious examples of this type of design. This kind of level design only really works because the controls in classic Mega Man are incredibly tight and responsive. The game demands precision, but it also gives you the tools needed to meet those demands. One of the more common criticisms I've seen aimed at classic Mega Man is the reliance on trial and error. And while that's not entirely wrong, I don't think it's a flaw. The stages are short, most can be completed in just 2 to 3 minutes, which makes retrying feel more like refining your approach rather than being punished. The game sets up bite-sized obstacle courses that reward learning and improvement, and because the level design is consistent and fair, each failure feels like a lesson and not a roadblock. If anything, the design philosophy reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog, where keeping the speed up to a level takes trial, error, and eventually mastery, but once it clicks, you feel unstoppable. And that's just the stage design. What really pushes Mega Man's design into brilliance is how enemies are placed. It's more about decision making than it is about reaction time. Enemies are positioned in ways that make you think about your movement, your timing, and your weapon choice. It turns each level into a kind of puzzle that needs to be solved, not just with the platforming, but also with how you deal with the enemies that are littered about the stage. If the level design is the cake of classic Mega Man, then the enemies are the frosting on top, carefully placed to add tension, pressure, and a certain flow to each level. Enemy placement in these games is deliberate. They're like chess pieces on a board, each one designed to challenge Mega Man's specific limitations. By default, Mega Man can only shoot straight ahead. That might sound simple, but it creates layers of depth. Enemies that fly, crawl over the ground, or require angled shots force you to think carefully about your positioning. A low enemy like a Med Soul makes you stop and adjust your approach, while airborne enemies can bait you to jumping at the wrong time. This is where the special weapons come in and where the real gameplay depth begins to reveal itself. You see, I used to think the weapons were just for exploding boss weaknesses. However, this way of thinking really limited myself and gave way to certain frustrations that were completely self-inflicted. In Mega Man, you're not just picking the right tool for the Robot Master, you're also using these weapons to solve mini combat puzzles all throughout the stage. Take the Search Snake in Mega Man 3 for example. It's perfect for taking out these low-to-the-ground enemies that you otherwise have to awkwardly angle yourself around. Or the Metal Blade, which lets you shoot in 8 directions, instantly giving you more control and flexibility than the Mega Buster ever could. This design philosophy also extends to the stages. Many weapons aren't just for fighting enemies, they can interact with the environment too. In Mega Man 1, Iceman's weapon proves extremely useful in Fireman stages, as it can freeze the flames that erupt from the ground. These tools encourage experimentation, optimization, and sometimes even let you break away from the intended route. And the best part, the game rarely forces you to use these items. A curious player is simply rewarded for exploring their options. This makes the classic Mega Man games incredibly replayable because depending on your boss order, no two playthroughs feel the exact same. Changing which weapons you bring into which stage can drastically alter how you approach its challenges, and that's part of the magic. With how much care and thought went to the level design and the combat, you think that'd be enough. But classic Mega Man don't stop there, man. It brings it all together with some of the best music the NES and gaming as a whole has to offer. I'm serious, some of this music rivals even the greatest, like Sonic. I'd be remiss not to discuss the music even a little bit, because it does more than just fill the silence. It amplifies every moment you spend in these stages. Whether it's the pulse-pounding energy of Top Man's theme, or the eerie tension of the Wily Fortress tracks, the soundtrack perfectly captures the mood and pace of the gameplay and the level aesthetics. For the original 6 games, despite the NES's limited sound capabilities, the composers crafted melodies that have stuck with players for decades. And once Mega Man moved on to more powerful consoles, the music evolved with it. Mega Man 8 has some of my favorite tracks in the entire series. If you look at the screen right now, you should see some of my favorite tracks in the series. I recommend you give them a listen to. Alongside the music tracks and some absolutely beautiful sprite art. Going back to Mega Man 8, Mega Man 8 is one of the most beautiful pixel games ever created, and the 8-bit games also do so much with so little. The vintage anime aesthetic is colorful and very pleasing to my eyes, giving the games a very charming atmosphere. So, when you put all that together, the tightly designed gameplay, the creative level design, the weapon variety, the music, the art, it all just clicks into place like a big jigsaw puzzle. I gotta say, after sleeping on the series for so long, revisiting it really exceeded my expectations. Anybody? I guess not. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Hey, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.